Is it cold in here, Yuri? You cold? You don't get cold. You live in the ocean. That's awesome. So, first one for Yuri. Yeah, you saw this one before. So www.ugg. Everything's going to come back to www.ugg. And today we're going to be focusing on, the unsorted side mostly, glaciers. So, rivers of ice, glaciers. The rivers of ice. I heard that somewhere before. All right. So that was Yuri's favorite movie, and my kids and stuff too. But Yuri loves. I mean, every time Frozen 2 comes on, can't get enough of that. So, a Till Hill. That's Drumlin Fell. So till, that was glacial deposits. It's all unsorted stuff. Usually it's rounded, polished up. Glaciers have a ton of abrasion, okay? And a drumlin, I think, is probably the number one feature that shows up. So you got to remember that they are the steep on the north and gentle to the south, right? So they're filled with unsorted, loose deposits. As the glaciers came from the north, the north remembers. Did anybody get that reference? So as the glaciers come from the north, they scrape all that stuff out, and then they drop all these gently sloped to the south side hills. New York State has them all over the place. Look at that little fancy how you draw a glacier. So just like with river, if you remember back, we did river. Word river, the middle letter of river. The same thing's going to happen with glacier when we get to glaciers in a couple of videos. The middle letter of river helps you remember what glacier, the middle letter, if you just elongate it, it makes the shape of the valley that it forms. So you don't have to memorize it, or it makes it easier to memorize it. Other things, polished, rounded, glacial deposits. And then diagrams like this show up quite a bit too. A lot of New York State bedrock is limestone, okay? Sedimentary bedrock, quite a bit. There is igneous bedrock in the Adirondacks, but no matter what the bedrock is, the soil up here doesn't match. It's transported, it came from a different location, it's unsorted, polished stuff. So that's the till. And so that till, northern New York State and Canada is where most of this stuff came from. There's a lot of glacial features. I'll go through a few of the diagrams and some easy, buddy. I know you're excited to get to those glaciers. Go through some diagrams and questions. And glaciers show up quite a bit. They're probably the second most common thing on the test because they kind of, rivers dominate erosion around the world. New York State glaciers compete with that because we were covered with glaciers more than once. Okay, you can see the overall glacial diagram here. The glacier was advancing from this direction down to here, and it got about that far. So that's what we call the moraine, or the terminal moraine. That's as far as the glacier gets. And this line right here is kind of a dividing line. All of this material back here got scraped up, and some of it got deposited. But all of this is going to be called till, the whole thing. And mostly on this side of the line, you're going to have unsorted deposits. And on this side of the line, you have mostly sorted deposits. This is the outwash plain. That's where all that melting glacial stream stuff kind of comes and acts like a normal stream. Over here, you've got the different features like the Kettle Lakes, the moraines, the drumlins, the eskers. You've got to basically recognize that all of them are glacial features. Okay? With my best drawing skills here, you can see that you've got the steep side and the gentle side, and they all point the same direction. So basically, you want to be able to identify the features and describe the sediment that they leave. They're all going to be rounded for the most part and polished because glaciers make a lot of abrasion happen. Not crazy about this diagram here, so that's kind of why I included it, because sometimes you're really struggling to see what you're supposed to see, but they're trying to show these lines that all go in this direction. Okay, that's, we're on a glacial video here, so it's a glacial ice question, but these are called parallel scratches or slicken sides or glacial grooves. They like to show up once in a while on tests. This diagram's a little bit better, so you'd be able to figure out that this is the north-south direction. We're not sure which way without other pieces of evidence to show us, but they all go in the same direction there. Parallel scratches go with glaciers. So it's really just, there's a lot of word associations with the test. This is a nice diagram, kind of like the one that I drew for you, to show that there's one type of, well, many types of rocks on top and a different type of rock for the bedrock. So most of New York State is limestone, or a lot of it. And then you see, like, this is the symbol for metamorphic rocks and the symbol for different types of rock, igneous rocks and stuff. So different rocks, they don't match. That's a transported sediment. So glaciers are the main way that our soil got here. It was all transported from northern New York and Canada. Just some more diagrams that kind of show up on the test a decent amount. You got the Finger Lakes. They all point in the general direction the glaciers came and advanced that way and scraped out the soft rock. So the soft rock got scraped out faster than the hard rock, and this is as far as the glaciers got to. You can see some different moraines. So these are different events. The Ronkonkoma, I don't know how to say it. That was one moraine, and then the glacier retreated, and then it advanced again and got to this Harbor Hill location. So this would be like an unsorted location, but the outwash here would be sorted, right? So this is sorted, this would be unsorted, and since it was a river feature, this question specifically was asking about size of particles with this outwash plain, and they wanted you to know that you'd have bigger particles here, and then the particles get smaller and smaller the further you get. And not for this video, but for a future video, you can see that nice barrier island feature for wave erosion. That was a later on addition to the Long Island area. All right, so when we get to some of the questions, try to answer this one. It's really just our www.ugh. So glacial moraines are going to be unsorted, ugh, and not layered. So D would be your choice there. Valley Glacier, let me move that out of the way for you. So you see a valley glacier. Gotta know, not the best diagram sometimes. You can't rely on these diagrams always being perfect. I wish they were, but it's a real life picture. So you've got a U-shaped valley, and which of these go with glacier stuff? That'd be A. Had to throw in a picture of a glacial erratic there. Any random rocks, they usually do not match the bedrock underneath. Big rocks, those are dropped off by glaciers. We got our winter hats on. That was cold. Rivers of moving ice, glaciers. You didn't hear it here first.